Welcome, world. Welcome, world. Welcome to Creative Perceptionz, another installment to this podcast. Sorry, we've been kind of MIA. We're going to do better moving forward. But today, I have a special guest. I have a friend, a brother, a fraternity brother, an entrepreneur. He's a husband. He's a wizard at what he does. He is a motivational speaker. He does everything. He's a jack of all trades. Welcome, Kelvin, to the show. Welcome. How are you, good sir?
Good. How about yourself? Good. How about yourself? Thank you for having me.
No problem, man. Long time coming. Thank you for putting up with my endless schedule moving
Thanks for
and things like
sure.
that. Um, yeah, man, glad to have you. So we're gonna jump right into it. Tell us about your upbringing, man. I know that you have a unique story. And it's just amazing to see your grind and to see where you come from. And I think a lot of people, um, nowadays, I feel like we don't really talk about where we come from, or we don't talk about the hard parts in life. We always kind of show the glitz and glamour, but you do a good job of like being transparent and pulling that back. So tell us about your upbringing.
So my upbringing, I am from Burtonsville, Maryland. My parents are from Nigeria and Ghana. They migrated over here when they were in their late 20s, middle 20s or late 20s. Um, they were living here 5 or 6 years before I was born. Um, and our upbringing was, like normal, a normal regular family where you have your ups and downs. Um, and it was just a struggle with what my parents expected and what my expectations were in a household. So it was a very different thing. And, I think the power and influence in my upbringing was significant as well because I got around the wrong group of individuals. So dealing with what my family's expectations were, hanging around those friends that I was hanging around with, those wrong group of friends, the expectations eventually collided.
Mm,
And I had a choice to make. And my parents had to make a choice for me because they saw me going do a dark path. I don't think if if my parents didn't save me, because let me tell you, in life, you have parents that can't do anything to their kid. Like there's nothing that they lose control of their child. So their child can run wild. There's some people that lose control. There's some people that assert some type of control or do something. I look at Power.
mhm.
Ghost lost control of Tariq because
Yes,
he
he
went to
did.
jail. When he went to jail and when he was dealing with Milan and the drug dealers and stuff, he lost control of his son.
Yep.
Kanan gained control of his son. And even when Kanan died, he gained control of his son.
Hmm.
So I say all that to say that you have to be careful what you expose your children to.
Yes. Good enough.
And what you may think that they're not paying attention, but they're paying attention to everything. And Tariq, I think, has always had that trait of being bad to the bone,
Hmm.
but he just had to use the moment. He just had to see certain things when his dad started to disappear. When his dad was always out doing whatever he was doing. His dad had all this money. It always ticked in his mind that my dad is not getting no clean money. There's
Mm.
no way that he didn't think that. But again, Power doesn't show everything. You just kind of have to look at the theories. But Power and all these is different types of shows that show you that some fathers you have. It depends on for a proper upbringing. You got to have some strong male in the household and a strong woman in the household as well.
Hmm.
His mom was strong, but then again, his father wasn't strong. So when you don't have the two going together, it can't happen. Like, and this is not saying that a woman can't lead the household. They can, but sometimes they need backup as well. If they're the only parent doing something, and there's some people that have a strong woman in a household and it works out. And I believe in that. Like a strong woman in a household works as well too. But I feel like you have to have two people together so they can show an example of what it means to be loved.
I agree. I remember I went to therapy and I was a little bit skeptical of it because my dad's from North Carolina and my mom's from Philadelphia, and parents. around up growing up, love my parents to death. But the parents around that time frame, therapy, what you need therapy for, you better go pray about it, or whatever the case may be. My parents didn't necessarily go say pray about it, but they were skeptical about it. But for me, I remember I forgot his name. This was right before the pandemic, and I had went and we talked about Boys in the Hood. Now, granted, he was from India, so I was like, did you really watch Pop Boys in the Hood? Not to say that they could not, but it just caught me by surprise. So one, he's already breaking that barrier and opening up the culturalistic alignment that we have with people. We kind of make these assumptions, right? And he broke down the diagram that you just said. He was like, because I told him about my parents being divorced, things like that, how that kind of I feel like it kind of affected me as I grew up. He was like, think about it. He said, Boys in the Hood. He said, who do you think had the most effective presence in the movie? And I'm like, Doughboy. And he was like, why do you say that? I was like, well, I mean, granted, he did die at the end of the movie, but he knew where he stood. He knew his brand. He was okay with where he was, and he was comfortable in his skin. He was like, that's a good analogy. And then he talked about I forgot his name, but Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character in the movie, he was like, think about it. You have the parents split up, and then they're basically working two overtime roles. You have the mom trying
Yes.
to be a father, but she can't do that, and then you have the father trying to be a nurturer like a mom, but you can't do that. So no, I agree with you. I think you do have to have both dynamics. Being though your dad was in software engineering or computer engineering, and your mom was a nurse, we kind of talk about expectations, right? Oftentimes people from Nigeria or Ghana or from Africa, they have higher expectations. Sometimes it can be a connotation that when people come to America, black and brown people, we can kind of be lazy sometimes, which there is some truth to that. What was the expectations in the household? Like you kind of talked about, you were kind of going your separate ways. Was it instilled at an early age? You're going to college, you're doing this, or you're doing that, or was it more so chase your dreams? Like what was the expectations? Because you talked about kind of drifting off and doing your own thing, but what were kind of the expectations that were set?
So the expectation that we're set is that you go to school, you got to do what you got to do to succeed. Make sure you get all A's and B's, and then also another expectation that was set is that everybody goes to college in this family. Everybody graduates with a degree in this family.
Mm,
Um, and that was my mom. That was both expectations. That's what happens in an African household.
mm,
And that's what happens in most households. They expect their child to go to school. They expect the child to go to college.
mm-hmm,
They expect their child to get all A's and B's, um, stay away from certain people. But there is expectations. Expectations can sometimes not be reality.
mm,
Expectations can be what the perception of what the parent thinks for their child. But
mm,
ultimately, the child grows into a man or a woman, right?
mm-hmm,
And they're stuck with their choices and their consequences.
mm-hmm.
At the same time, some parents are able to get control over their children. Some parents are able to maneuver their children into certain positions. And sometimes there is some children that are born with, you know, mental health issues that you can't control. Like you can't control. Like I work at a school right now. And I'm not going to disclose so much because
Absolutely.
I won't disclose their information, but there's kids there that are dealing with certain things like they're on meds.
Mm,
I've been at certain places where there's some students that I've gone to school with, whether it was my boarding school, college, where they're on medication. This is how they survive. Without that medication, they may go haywire.
oh, yeah.
They may lose themselves. So there's some parents that can't control that. The medication kind of controls it. But what the parents can control is that to make sure that they're taking their medications.
Absolutely.
There's some children, like parents that can't control the child's upbringing. If you're trying to do right in a hood environment, sometimes you got to pray on it and hope that the child does well for themselves, because when the child sees certain things, they grow into it and they become a product of their environment.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's all about, you could be a victim of circumstance, right? But you can be a victim of circumstance, but you can control the narrative. And sometimes that doesn't work for certain people. Some people use the excuse as a product of my environment. I think it's an excuse. You control the narrative. You're a victim of, like I said, circumstances. You control the narrative. You can change the environment that you're in. You can change the people you hang out with. Let me tell you something. Just because you're in a hood environment doesn't mean you can't have good friends. You are who you hang around with.
Absolutely.
So that was my upbringing. I hung around people that didn't have anything going for themselves in life. But what I thought at the time is that they were cool. That was my expectation, to roll with them, grow with them. But they didn't want to grow with me. Do you know, Zach, there is some people that I expected to look to look up to, but secretly they were looking up to me.
Mm,
My parents, and we lived in a middle class household. My parents were not the richest groups of people, but my parents were able to handle their own and take care of their children. I didn't realize that until I had people start coming in my house and I started bringing friends over and things were going up missing. And
mm,
they were just like, well, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. And my parents said something to me one day when something came up missing. You said, it's so funny, Kelvin, that all these people can come to your house. Have you ever been to their house? And it still sticks with me to this day. I've never been to one person's house that I was dealing with. I've had friends where I was dealing with that I've never been to their house. I've probably been to one person's house, probably two or three people's houses, but it's only for a limited time. They stay in my house for days to come. They're there for
mm,
hours, come there days, come there after school, come there before school, all that.
mm. Okay. That
You
no, that's definitely something. I agree with that 100%. My parents are definitely cautious. Why can't you go over their house? And that was the red flag right there. So let's pivot a little bit. What you mentioned boarding school, you mentioned college, you mentioned life after college. What was high school like, especially in Montgomery County public schools, especially how they're supposed to be so diverse? Or actually, were you in PG or you said Burtonsville,
Montgomery County, yeah,
Montgomery County? I
Burtonsville,
thought
yeah.
so. Okay, so
Yes,
how
sir.
was that?
So, and I was just it was so funny. I grew up in Burtonsville, Maryland, and it was different. Like, I was a good kid. I was always in trouble, but I was a
Mhm.
good kid. I was just troubled,
Right, right.
misunderstood. And I think if I went to therapy when I was a kid, it would have got better for me. I would have turned out a lot differently.
So I asked you a
From
question.
yeah.
So I'm gonna ask, were you trouble or were you just growing up as a kid? Because sometimes I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, were you trouble or you just growing up? Because sometimes I feel like for me, and I may be off base, so definitely correct me. I feel like sometimes there were a lot of labels that were put on us as kids from the school systems that, like, I know for me, they were quick to try to throw an IEP, but the fact of the matter is your class was boring, or the fact of the matter is your pedagogy was off, or the fact of the matter is you couldn't relate to me culturalistically as a black kid. So was it you being in trouble or was it just you growing up?
I think it was me trying to fit in. I was trying to get in where I fit in, but like, because I actually came from a school in Rockville.
Mm,
It was St. Michael's Baptist. It was over in, actually, Silver Spring.
okay.
So it was a uniform school, Christianity school, Catholic school, sorry. Um, and I came from wearing uniform all the time. And I used to go to this school in Silver Spring called Quality Time. It was a daycare. So when I stopped going to that daycare and then I got into St. Michael's, I got kicked out of St. Michael's. Um, I was always in trouble. And one day I remember my mom, I have good memory. I can recall certain things. So my
Mhm,
mom was taking me out of the school and said, "You're never coming back here." And I
mhm,
couldn't remember, but I just remember them sending me out of school. Um, and I ended up in Burtonsville
mm,
Elementary. That's where I started out, and then I just was always in some trouble there, always running around doing crazy things, and I was growing up. And the reason why I mentioned therapy is because
mhm.
I think a lot of children, when they have therapy early on, we as a black community were not exposed to therapy in the early 2000s.
I agree.
It, therapy is not as popular was not as popular as it is now. Mental health was not a thing way back. You just pray about it, and that's what it is. You
Mhm.
pray about it. We're going to handle it as a family, and we'll get through it.
Mhm. Or you weren't mentally tough enough,
Yeah,
or yep.
exactly. Me-
Mhm.
Mental health was not publicized way back. It was not talked about. You know, we either talk it out with the not and the counselor, even a counselor. Counselors were a thing,
Mhm.
but they weren't really a thing.
I agree.
So, when we talk about um like mental health, like how it is so big now, back then you're just talking about it with your parents, and my parents made me think that beatings were going to fix it. But
Mm,
in my case, beatings didn't fix it. They were good parents because they would talk to me, have conversation, but I wasn't able to receive it.
I agree.
You
It was
know, so that's just what I think. Like, it's just so different now. And when I got into middle school, it didn't get any better. I was always in trouble. I haven't picked up, and I had this skill, and it's a bad skill. I used to steal. I was good at stealing. I could steal anything. I was stealing things when from pre-K up until I got into high school. Middle school, I remember one second.
yeah, good.
I remember middle school, I went to take candy, right? From the
Mhm.
teachers. I saw some candy and I was like, man, I'm about to go out here and start selling because I saw the other kids selling it. I
Mhm.
was like, man, they're making that bread. So I'm trying to get that money. So when this teacher walked out of her building, I walked in there, put all these candies in my bag, and then I ran out. So I tried to do the same thing with these airheads because airheads were big at the time when we were
That was the
kids.
candy. That was the candy.
So like I waited for this teacher to leave out and I ran in there, took everything, I put it in my jacket and I was
Mhm.
running out. She stopped me, so I put one airhead dropped out of my jacket, and then all of them dropped.
Yeah.
And I just remember my dad was so pissed, because he was so angry because he was just like, we didn't raise you to be a stiller, but you just can't control some things that people learn in an environment. You can't. There's just some things that are learned. And I was doing this kind of thing and had this behavior and had this act until I got into high school and somebody took from me. Karma hit
Mhm.
me because I took from somebody that I cared about when I was in middle school. And the thing, karma will always get you, no matter what. It will always get you. And the karma hit me. Somebody, I can say this transparently. Somebody stole from us, my family,
Mhm.
and it put me in a tough position that I had friends that I was bringing in around my house and everything like that, and I thought it was cool. They was always around, chilling with us, and I thought nothing of it, but they were stealing from me.
Mhm.
They were taking from me. Um, and one friend that I thought was my friend, they had somebody come over. This same person, uh, that was not my friend. I thought I saw the guy before, put a knife to my neck, was threatening to take my life. So just imagine if the guy took my life and took whatever he took. I
Mhm.
wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here right now. Or maybe I would be here, but would not be at 100%. Be traumatized.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say that high school changed me forever, especially when I went to that boarding school. I seen a lot of things in that boarding school that's where I was first exposed to medicines controlling individuals, right? That help keep individuals calm because ultimately medication controls an individual that has mental health issues or is sick.
Right.
It keeps them sane. It keeps them leveled. It keeps them moving through their day. ADHD, there's medicines for that to keep them focused throughout the day. I never knew that until I got to high school. So I learned about a new way of life, but also high school was my upbringing that got me here in terms of my leadership. If it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for that military academy, I would not be the leader that I am today. If it wasn't for my mentors, then one of them is his name's Sergeant Major Patrick McCon, and the other one is Sergeant Major Terrence Lewis. If it wasn't for the two of them, I would not be the leader that I am today. I would not be the man or the speaker that speaks on Instagram today. I would not be that man today. Without them, I would without my father, I would not be the man that I am today. Just that. I had people that taught me things. Like I had somebody I used to call my older brother that taught me about that life. How they say in power about that life. It's so
Mm-hmm.
funny. Taught me about that life, but you know, um, he taught me certain ways that I don't use those ways because that's not what I believe to
Right.
get through in life. I don't use those ways. And you just really see that your upbringing is very important. So I had a tough upbringing. I had a tough upbringing, but it's normal in a way, but tough, not tough because I was going through it. It's tough to adjustment because it was tough to adjust to things. That's what I'll say.
Okay, I love that. All right, so we're gonna kind of change lanes real quick. Not really. It's kind of changing lanes. How do we get to Wesley? How do we get to Wesley College? You talk about military school. You talk about switching from schools, getting moved out of schools, things of that nature. How do we end up at Wesley College?
So originally I was accepted at Wesley in 2014 when I graduated.
Mm,
I graduated in 2014 and Wesley, and the funny thing is, funny story, I was supposed to graduate in 2013,
mm,
but I repeated a grade back in third grade because I just like you said, you brought up a great point. Um, there's a lot of teachers that kind of judge you for your for your culture and your skin complexion. So there is teachers that won't work with you. You get what I'm saying? They won't work with you. They won't understand you. Um, and I was judged most of my life until I met this lady named Jackie Filio. Filio, Miss Filio, great teacher. Became my tutor even after she left the school, my elementary school, and she's been a family friend. If it wasn't for her, I would have never been as far ahead as I was.
mm.
There's some things that where I got far ahead, but um, I say that to say that Wesley was, and then with Wesley, I got accepted after Oak Ridge Military Academy. Um, and I didn't go. I said that I wanted to stay close to my girlfriend at the time,
Mm,
the girl that I thought I was going to be with forever.
mm.
You see how that turned out because I'm with a whole different woman. You know,
What'd your parents say, or did your parents
um,
not know, or what was that like? How was that interaction like after you're like, yeah, I'm not going to Wesley, not at least not now.
um, they were pissed. They were not happy with it, and they kept telling me about that girl because this girl, and this has nothing. I know race has nothing to do with it. This girl was a white girl,
Mm,
so but my parents could see that she wasn't for me, especially when they met her.
mm.
They could see that she was somebody that used me, and she was using me. Even when she met my parents, she didn't want to say anything. She hid behind a friend that came up to speak to my parents.
Mm,
um, so she wasn't she just was different. You get what I'm saying?
mm,
So I was dealing with her, and I didn't want to leave. So I went to this nearby local boarding school called Guilford College, right?
mhm,
Um, and that school was the worst. The reason
mm,
why I said it was a bad experience because I went to Guilford College and and this was a PWI. This is my second experience with a predominantly white institution, but the struggles were real. I messed with this one girl and then she accused me of I can't remember the word, sexual misconduct.
mm,
I was messing with this girl. I met her. We were vibing. Um, and I always believe in consensual acts, right? And I was being consensual with her. I was asking her things, and we kind of just fell into kissing each other. And one thing led to another. We're getting ready to go try to go the next step, but then we stopped each other because we both had relationships at the time. At the time, I was getting out of my relationship with the girl at the time, and then she was tired of hers. I didn't even know she had a relationship.
Mm,
So she told me at the end everything. We sat down and I told her like, "Hey, we can go out for a movie. We can become cool. We can become friends, and I can get to know you, and this and that and the third." And it was cool. So me and her went out. Um, we went out. No, not. I wouldn't even say that we went. We went our separate ways. I'll say that. And then the
mm,
next thing you know, I'm trying to hit her up on the weekend and say, "Hey, let's go out." I get a call on Monday saying to come to the main office.
mm,
And next thing you know, I'm in the office with all the with this lady named Sandra Bowers. Um, you know, you meet a lot of racist people in America, but that to me is the most racist woman in America.
ooh,
Uh, you know, she tells me that, oh, you're being charged with sexual misconduct and sexual assault. And I was so confused. The girl sent her pictures of marks on her hand and things that I didn't do. And I know I didn't do. And
mm,
I was so confused. I was lost because at the time, can I be honest? I did not understand what was really going on, why it was going on. So let me tell you, after that, I was harassed by my teachers. I was harassed by public safety. I couldn't even walk near the building that she was in without getting in trouble. I would walk by the building, or even one day I tried to get into the building just to go see my friend, and I was judged for it. And the girl, I was really lost. Like and then like this girl went from being cool with me to when I would see her, she would try to run on me.
mm,
You get what I'm saying? So I just couldn't understand it. My teachers were telling me things, and we know you did it. I don't see it no other way. I don't want to hear any excuses from you. And I hope they kick you out. And I hope something bad happens to you one day. Can you just imagine somebody telling you that they're supposed to be an educator to you? And I can't make this up. You know, this
mm,
is what where my trauma came from. And I was so upset. I was so upset and I was hurt. I was going through it. I had like health problems at the time. Blood pressure was high. All these
mm,
different. I was in the emergency room every other day. I mean, not yeah, literally every other day or every week, one of those two. And my grades were slipping. That GPA, that was the place where I went where my GPA was about a point 50.
mm,
And when I left the school, I went to where was it? I just didn't know what I wanted to do after that. Like I just kind of chilled. I just said, oh, "Well, I'm not going back to school." So I went to go get around a friend, and that's where I was doing music before. I was rapping and making music. So I went to go stay with a friend at A&T. So I
time
stayed.
out. What was your rapper name? You didn't tell me you rap. What was your rapper name?
My rapper name was LSB 223.
All right, keep it going. All right, we here for it. Continue on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, so they used to call me 223 and number three. So I did I actually rapped from 2014 to uh 2021. I used to rap with a young man. We used to own a brand together. The brand together. I know you know him. He's my frat brother and family member. His name is Dual Based.
Hmm.
Yeah, we used to rap together. So he does music, but we used to rap together at a studio. I remember we were going to the studio, we used to rap, and the reason I actually had to stop to rap, I'm sorry to get outside our question, but I actually stopped to rap.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Then when I met him, he was rapping and he was cold with it. Like this boy was cold with it. And I saw like, damn, like a ring light that popped up. I was like, yo, I gotta get with this young man and get around him because I want to see him grow with it because he had a talent like no other, and he still got the. I will always say, top five to that I hope that makes it out of here is him because he was just different with it, and I feel like he could tell a story, and he's got
Mm,
pain, and you know. He got pain in his music. Somebody has pain and puts their dedication into it.
mhm,
So that made me want to get back into rap and kind of give him a push. So we got into a studio.
mhm.
I showed him a studio in Dover that I was going to, and the rest is history. Like he's keeping it going, and I'm happy to see him keep going today. He's making music, he's doing his thing, and I'm wishing him nothing but the best. But I stopped. But anywho, back to our question, was I was doing it for a little bit, rapping with my friend named Maury, one of my best friends. Maury is one of the most talented, another talented individual. Maury was like, I think like to me, this generation's Drake,
Mm,
but he just didn't have the platform to push him to somewhere. And it's not like he rapped like Drake. He just had that persona where he was versatile with it.
okay.
Maury was like kind of like God for real, like with an ill with it, ill with the bars, ill most talent. So I went to A&T, stayed with him for a semester, and then I just went home. I had to go home. You know what I'm saying? At first, I was gonna me and my bro, we was gonna get an apartment together, me and Maury, but we didn't have the bread like that, so I had to go branch off and get back home, go back home, and because I actually left home. My parents were telling me, you don't gotta leave home, but I was telling them, nah, I gotta go. So I went to go get it, and I struggled, for those 5 months. So I went back home, got my stuff together, and the next thing you know, my dad was telling me, "Hey, man, I know you didn't want me to pay for Wesley, but I paid a $500 deposit and give it a try." I was like, you know what? I don't got nothing else to lose. Let me give college another try. And the rest was history. I gave college a try. College came. I got into organizations. I got into the fraternity. And I'm nothing but grateful because if I didn't go to college, what would have my life been like?
Mm.
Yeah.
What'd you major
So
in?
I majored in liberal studies. At first,
Mm,
started with psychology, but
mhm,
liberal studies. And then I had a concentration in history, psychology, and communications.
mm.
Um, and college, if I never went to college, I would have never met my wife that I'm with today. So
Shout out to
I'm,
Millie.
yeah, yeah, I'm, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for Wesley College.
So I love that. Well, first and foremost, thank you for that transparency. That it's something about us people that live in Maryland. We will travel to pursue our dreams, and if we know it's not gonna work out, we will reset and we will recalibrate. So I just love that transparency. Going into Wesley, your dad drops the $500 deposit. Shout out to dad. Um, what was your mindset like? Okay, what was your dream gig, like so to speak? Everybody goes in with a major, and then some people stick within their major, and some people just transform and metamorph into something else. What was in your mind like? Okay, after I'm done with this, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. Was it like that, or are you just trying to like, okay, I just want to get my degree, and then we'll branch off? What was that mindset like for you?
I honestly didn't know what I was going to do after school.
Hmm.
I didn't know that I wanted it. Actually, no, actually, let me tell you, I actually wanted to, after a while, at first, I didn't know. Then when I got into being an RA, I said, I want to be an area coordinator and get into
Mm,
higher education. Um, I didn't really understand higher education at the time, so I was in there. But then when I started seeing all this, like when I met my mentor at the time, told me about being a police.
mm,
Um, I didn't. I just thought it was really stupid at the time, being away from family and getting into the police world, and I just didn't know how it was going to be, how I was going to do. And then he told me, told me about it, and I thought it was silly. Um, then my father-in-law told me about it and was telling me that, yo, you can really, I could see you in a future here. And I thought about it and I said that, wow, state police is cool, or Delaware is cool with police and I like it. And, um, I got into it and I got into and I got into certain places and I just found out what I wanted to do was be a cop. I still want to be a cop,
Mm-hmm.
but it just may not be in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
It may just be in another place, and maybe another town, or maybe another state, or maybe in Delaware one day. Who knows? We don't know what life can bring. But
Facts.
just now, like I've just found out what I wanted to do just through experiences, and I had to pivot. I'm learning how to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I thought I was going to be an executive director of housing, but that changed because I have to be realistic. Is this what I really want to do? Can I see myself doing that? No.
What was that identifying moment where you knew that?
Um, just being in the role of being in RD, that's where it solidified for me because I didn't know if I wanted to just be, and I honestly wanted to be a rapper on the side and
Okay.
be the executive director and be a manager because I actually wanted to manage. At one point, I wanted to manage Duel, and help him out and be in that position. But then it's just like I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do my own thing and focus on just locking in on a family, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to still do the music and work around, yeah, just work with Dual. We work back and forth, but then I was just like, damn, I don't want to do music anymore. I want to kind of get out of it. I support it, support all my people, like my bro Maury, Dual, all of them. Still gonna support them. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just has to come back down to policing and everything I wanted to do when I identified it. It was hard, like there were certain things that I had along the way, challenges and things that I had along the way becoming a cop, and I just think that it wasn't meant to be right now. I tried to rush it. I remember I had one conversation with somebody, and somebody motivated me and gave me hope, and I was out here applying and stuff like that. I just don't think it was the time for me to apply.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have gave it more time, I would have been more successful. But everything happens for a reason. This
Absolutely.
struggle is for a greater testimony. So do I still believe I can still become a cop? Hell yeah. I'm never going to let go of that because I feel like when you're stubborn with what you want to do and your passions and your dreams, you'll always succeed at them because people may look at you like you're crazy until you accomplish it.
That's valid.
You
Okay.
know,
On a,
um,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So I know you kind of alluded to it earlier. We're talking about, meeting your wife and that being one of the focal points or outcomes from Wesley. Um, how did you meet her and why is marriage important to you?
I met my wife through a friend. Her name is Rochelle. I met my wife through Rochelle. Rochelle is a Zeta, so it's my sorority sister. But Rochelle also became a very close friend.
Mm,
So Rochelle and me became close. And this is the thing. And I want to talk about that actually. Um, I want to dive in a little bit into the frat piece. You have people that are your fraternity brothers, but then your actual friends.
mm-hmm.
Like I consider you a friend and my fraternity brother, but I consider you a friend before the fraternity brother
Likewise, my
because,
friend.
yeah, because the friendship we built. That's the way I consider me and her. Like I
Mm,
consider a lot of people in the frat. Like I mentioned somebody like Vlad. Vlad is one of my closest friends.
good guy, good guy, good brother.
Vlad is. I was one of the major reasons that Vlad became a segment. Jamal Earls, but I also was a vocal point because I was around when Vlad was supposed to be in our chapter, our final line in our chapter. But
Mm,
God has its way, and I'm blessed to see that he got an opportunity to be around more brothers, to have more brothers. Because if he would have done it with us, he would have just been by himself. You know, So uh, like I say, like you have people that are your fraternity brothers, and just your fraternity brothers, and then you have people that are your friends, your real life friends. So she was a friend.
Mhm.
So with her, she like with her, like I love her to death. I love Rochelle to death. We were just studying one day, and one day I called her. I was like, "Hey, you want to go out?" So her friend was in the room. Her name is Milena. So Milena, I've seen Milena several times before with Rochelle. I've called Rochelle, and she's at Milena's crib. So I'm like, okay. um she just starts talking to me, and I asked her how's. She tells me that she's in a sorority. I said, "You're off the recent line that crossed, right?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, you're the line that had that girl that slipped and dropped and fell." And I felt that was like, it was crazy. So she laughed. She said, "Yeah, that was us." I was like, "Okay." Like, we started talking, and she was just vibing with me. And I was talking to both of them, so she couldn't see my face because my
Mm.
phone was cracked.
Ah.
So I started vibing with her, and you know, I was just like, okay, well, I didn't think anything of it. So I seen this girl on Instagram a couple in June, and I was like, God, this girl's fine, but realized that was the girl I was talking to.
Oh, wow.
It
Oh,
was her.
wow.
It was Milena. So I didn't realize. So I was talking to her, and we had a little basic conversation, and the funny thing is, she was telling me, "Oh, you got to guess my line number. You got to run my information before I give you my number." So I'm out here scramming the gram, trying to find that information. Look on her page, look on that page. So I got her information. And the thing is that, but I wasn't serious at the time. I was just like, "Oh well, I get this," and all these different things like that. So at the time, I was focused on rapping and just being out in the mix. So I was out here in different ways because my neo year, I didn't enjoy my summer because I went to go work in my military academy for the summer. So I was
Mhm.
not around. I wasn't around everybody.
Mm.
I was not around. I wasn't in the mix. So when I came back around, I was just like, dang, like this is this. I was like, ooh, I'm ready to be out. So 19, spring in 2019, I was out, and I was in a relation. I was in some type of situationship
Mm.
with a young lady. Still got mad love for that young lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, still got mad love and respect for her.
Mhm.
But at the time she wasn't paying me the time of day, so I moved away. So in 2019, I was just like, I stopped it in 2019. I was like, man, it's time to be outside. I've wasted too much time trying to chase something that ain't worth chasing. I should have kept the person as friends. And I always say that, you got to keep some people as friends.
Right.
You can't make everybody your girl, because when the person was saying that, hey, we should just be cool and friends, I wasn't listening. I was just, well, let me go get with it. I was thinking with my dick and my heart. Wrong combinations to think with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wrong combinations to think with, because sometimes you got to think with your head and say that, wow, this ain't the right move. Let me take the pleasure out of it and stop thinking like that.
Right, absolutely.
Um, so when I stopped doing that, and I just went to go enjoy my summer, went to go enjoy my life, and Melena kept reaching out to me, asking me, "Oh, you hit me up once, you don't want to hit me up again, hit me up again." And it was like, damn, maybe I sparked a conversation with her. And there was this one day where me and Melena were having a regular conversation, and she was talking about this friend that she was with. And I told her, I gave her advice when she was telling me that, I heard everything she was saying about how the person doesn't appreciate her. I said, then why are you still with him? You shouldn't be with somebody that doesn't appreciate you. And those words that I said to her kind of charmed her. And then one day she reached out again. And I remember I was trying to get a ride from her to the train station.
Mhm.
Um, and she said, I have to go to the beach in the morning. So I was like, okay, well, I understand. Then I told her, when I get back, me and you are going to go out on a date. So she left. I left. I came back. I took her out. No, that same day, she took me to go get a video game, right?
Right,
Her
right.
break. Just randomly, because I needed her to take me to the store. So went to go get a video game. And next thing you know, I get the video game. I go out with her later on, and The rest was history. I looked in her eyes, and when I first saw her, when she came to pick me up, this is my first time seeing her in person, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
And putting my eye on her, most beautiful thing I've seen, most beautiful thing I've seen before. Beautiful human being I've seen, beautiful woman. She's just the charmer. So when I went out on a date, like we vibed, like I loved it. And the funny thing is, my best friend, which is Shayla, this girl named Shayla, she was at the that's the job that she worked at. So when I pulled up, Melina was like, I know damn well you didn't bring me to a place where your friend works. So I was like, she probably, my friend not even gonna pay no mind. So my friend,
Mm.
I'm there eating. My friend walks up, said, "What are y'all doing here together?" And I was just like, "Yeah, we just out on a date." And my friend was like, she walked away. So I told her, I said that, like I was telling Melina, I was like, yeah, one day, like I told Melina, I think Melina thought I was crazy that one day you're gonna be my wife.
Wow.
Like I knew then that I was gonna marry her. And marriage means everything to me because marriage has taught me it's more than just love. It's about commitment and dedication. You showing up for your partner every single day.
Mm.
You being there and being that safe space for them. You guys working together. Marriage was not easy this first year because you know why? Because what I did instead of just enjoying married life, I jumped into businesses. I'm one thing about me, I'm ambitious. Once I put my mind to something, you can't get me out of it. It's worked for me in the frat. It's worked for me in my life. I may not be where I want to be right now in life, but I know I'm going to get there eventually. You can't stop me. I may not know what my next step is right now,
Mhm.
but I know I'm going to be great. I know I'm going to get to where I need to be. I know where I'm going to be. I know what I want around me now. You understand what I'm saying? I learn something every single year. That's how ambitious I am. I
Right.
get what I need to get, whether people are around or they're not around. I'm gonna go get it. I'm gonna always get it.
Absolutely.
So marriage means everything to me because it taught me that it's truly not about me. It's about us. We over me. You know, and we're learning this stuff and we're learning it together. We're learning and we're growing together. We're building together. I married this particular woman, Tiana Hall, and she's now Laosebikan, because I know that this is the woman I want to raise my kids. This is the woman I want to build my life with because she's a great partner. She's a great partner and she's a great friend too. Ultimately, if I can't be your friend, I can't be your lover. I
Mm.
can't be married to you. She's my friend. She is my lover. She's everything to me. She's the piece of my heart. She's the queen to the king I am. So understand that she stands beside me. She has been there for me. She understands me. I understand her. And marriage is all about understanding, all about commitment, focus, dedication, and sacrifice. If you're not willing to sacrifice certain things in your life, you can't be married. You can't. It would never work. Sacrifice is a big thing in marriage. So it's a lot of things I had to give up, a lot of turns I had to do. So, my wife was telling me recently, she was just like, we were talking about my business. She was just like, well, and I think this is the best thing for us. We run business together, right?
Mhm.
But now my wife has took a step back.
Mm.
And I respect it because my wife has so much things going on, her doctorate and all these different things going on. And I respect it because from the get-go, I should have, instead of just telling her, oh, you're part of the business now, I should have asked her, hey, is this what you want to do? Would you like to be part of my business?
Right.
Because this created a lot of confusion and sometimes little arguments and little misunderstandings. And that's me being truthful with you. But marriage is all about a learning thing. It's a learning process. If you're willing to learn, you're willing to sacrifice, you're willing to get up every new day, marriage is always going to work out for you. It will always work. So that's how I see
I appreciate that transparency, man. And growing up, I didn't really see a lot of good examples of marriages. And then once I graduated college, I started to start seeing good examples of marriages, and you guys definitely fall into that. So I appreciate y'all for being an example. Um, you kind of touched into it. You must have my notes over there or something, man. But where did entrepreneurship come from? And where did motivational speaking come from? You have YinYin, which is a Nigerian-based slushy company, and you have Trench Clothing or Trench Clothing. Where did that come from? Your entrepreneurial mindset in those businesses, and then how did you get into motivational speaking? Because you, ever since I met you, man, you speak with power and intentionality, and it's just like I never forget when we used to do those godforsaken, those terrible morning calls. Neither here nor there, man. I could be doing something else. I could be on an email, and then I hear you start speaking, and you just speak with so much like power. Like, talk about all your entrepreneurial skill sets and your motivational speaking. Where did that come from?
So let me see that. My I'll talk about just the elevator pitch for my clothing brands, because I think a lot of people ask what is this, and I'll give it to you. First and foremost, if you want to pre-order with us for Trenched Out, man, we got the pre-orders that start in the middle of March. Again, we did two pre-orders for January and February, and we have colors in black and white. We're starting off with something basic, and then we're going to move on to a more of a color scheme, and we're going to have theme drops and things like that soon. This is just us getting us back on our feet. um that's first and foremost. But also, so for Trenched Out clothing, this clothing is a uh a motivational brand.
Mm,
Motivational brand meaning that stay down. When you hear the word stay down, this means that you stay locked in and you stay committed no matter what happens. Your circumstances could could be terrible. But
mm,
again, that comes that you're a victim of circumstance, control the narrative. Stay down and stay committed and locked into whatever you want to do. And then also you be free in doing that thing. Be yourself in whatever you do and what you stay locked in and committed to, because you'll always succeed and get to where you want to be. That's
yeah.
the meaning behind the brand. It's a motivational brand, and we promote clothing that shows, and our logo that shows motivation. That, hey, I have on my recent logo, we have a house, a hammer on a house. The hammer could be broken down, but it shows that you can build the house back up.
I
You
like
know,
it.
we have the praying hands. That means that you stay committed to God, because in whatever you do, God needs to be in your life to make it happen. You don't just make it happen, God makes it happen. And then the world symbolizes the world is yours.
Mm,
The world is in your hands. The world is in your hands. And those three symbols are what you need. When I talk about that hammer on the house, it takes dedication to build that hammer back up. When I talk about God and that prayer hand, focus. You have to focus on Him so He can bring you all the fruits of your labor. Then the world, when you talk about the world is yours. Your confidence. You have to believe the world is yours for it to be yours. It can't be unconfident. You can't be insecure, and the world can't be yours. If you doubt yourself constantly, the world can't be yours.
woo. Say that again
So,
from the back. You gotta say that
um,
one more time, man.
i- if you're not confident, the world can't be yours. If you don't believe the world can be yours, if you believe you're small minded, you'll always be small minded.
That's
The
good.
world can be yours. So this, to me, my wife was telling me, man, there's 1,000 clover brands. What makes you think that you can get there? And I told my wife, they're not me. There can be 1,000 clothing brands. There could be a Milano. There could be this, but they're not me. Like how Ghost, I love Ghost. I love Power. And Power is a TV show. They'd be like, oh, this is a TV show. No, but I got lessons from Power.
Yeah, absolutely. You
I
get
got
hot.
I, I got lessons from Power because there's certain things that Ghost did that I did, but I didn't understand. Power was something that God meant for me to watch.
Mm,
Because I was Ghost before Ghost.
mm.
It's certain characteristics, and they're not me. They can't. There's some people that I have my moments where I can be insecure at times, but sometimes I know they're not me. And anything that I do, there's 1,000 applicants that are applying to be a cop. They're not me. They're not me. I know that I always win. I've been in rooms with several people where in any cop job that I tried to apply for, I know that I'm gonna ace that interview. There's some interviews that I didn't get through, but there's some that I advanced to. I know they're not me. Actually, there is not. Yeah, I'll actually say this. There is interviews that I've went to that I know that I've aced. Like there was a job I went to for security, Target, not Target, TJ Maxx. When I had that interview, I showed up the way I showed up and I spoke the way I spoke. I know that I got the job, but I just know I'm overqualified for that job at the time. I know I got that job. The way I dress, the suits I wear, there's nobody going to go dress up for an interview like that. I know there's some people like that, but there's nobody dressing up and doing what I do. They don't do what I do. I showed up to one of the probate last year in a suit for the
Come
Zaytens.
on, that boy
Ain't
sharp.
nobody, ain't nobody doing that. Again, I don't disrespect to them, but I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna dress up and dress out. This is what I'm gonna show up in. They don't gotta dress up in a suit, but I will. I mean, the Zaytens were dressed up, of course, but I'm gonna show up in a suit for them. I'm gonna
I
show up.
got you.
These are my babies. You know what I'm saying? These are my peoples. I'm gonna show up for my peoples, and I'm gonna show up with all love and respect.
Hmm.
You know, we talk about that. Like, there's nobody doing what I do, so I equate that back to business. Ain't nobody. There's nobody ambitious like me. There's people ambitious, but they're not. I'm gonna go get it done. Shout out to all these people because I look up to them. I look up to. I like GVO. I like their business. I like what they promote. I love the mental health series and everything that they're doing. I love everything that these businesses like Milano. I read her. I know about her story. I know what she does. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna get to where I need to be. You know what I'm saying? I'm not competing with them.
Hmm.
At first when I came into business, I was trying to compete. I was trying to be, I gotta get up here. I said, no, I'm working at my own pace because I know I'm gonna be great in my own light. I don't need to compete with anybody. Anybody that competes with people, that's insecurity. They're insecure. You understand what I'm saying? When you want to compete with somebody. No, you show love and you give love. There's another clothing brand. Uh, Real deal real RDE holds their I can't if it's RDE, and I know some of the individuals is two boys I used to go to school with, great guys. They're doing their thing, and it's shout out to them. I give spotlight to people because I give credit where it's due. Everybody's doing their own thing. Another person I give spotlight to JoJo, uh, ZT Creations.
Hmm.
If I said it right, I might butcher it, but she's doing a great job. I remember I was talking to JoJo and she was telling me all these things that she was getting ready to do. And to see her doing it is amazing, amazing because they're doing it. And we're all in our own lane and I support everybody, but can still do my own thing because I'm not insecure. I'm not competing with you.
Right.
You need to put some money up. I'm going to put some money into your business. You
Right.
need me to come and get some gear off of you. I'm going to be one of the first ones to buy your gear. Couldn't get off on the GVO this recent drop, but I'm gonna make sure I get to the next one when I get to find my finances up. I'm gonna make sure I support people and support them. And if they support me, they support me. If they don't, they don't. But I know I'm gonna support them. Because at the end of the day, I used to beg for support, but support don't matter to me no more because I'm in my own lane and I know I'm achieve. So what I do is I take a bet on myself. I've spammed everybody. I sent my clothing, this video, I sent this thing to everybody.
I
And
love that.
I got a lot of customers to come and buy from me. They were like, yo, I need this shirt in an XL medium, all this stuff like that. And I got some people that buy on me. But when you bet on yourself, you can always achieve it. And that's where I'm going. YinYin is my baby, but Trench is my first baby, and I want to make sure Trench happens, and I push it to where it needs to be. And out of the two, Trench is my favorite. YinYin is my second favorite. So, and then YinYin, of course, it starts out. It was beautiful. Like I was sitting in the bed one day. It was after an African wedding. We're at this wedding, and I see these
Right. Right.
sweets and treats at my cousin's wedding, and I'm like, we're in New Orleans. I'm like, Melina, I really want to buy this vending machine. I think I'm going to do it. She says, okay, well, I don't know, but the next thing you know, my ambitious ass, next thing I buy this vending
Bought
machine. She's like, what the fuck, Kelvin? How the hell you gonna do this and all this kind of stuff? Like, and my wife. One thing about her, I love my wife because my wife will always tell me what not just what I need to hear, like what I
Mm,
want to hear, what I need to hear.
mm,
She told me, "What the hell are you doing? We got this and that and the third going on." But I was successful with it. My wife, that's what I think that, and my wife will say it that she admires me for my constant grind. I go out here and go get it, and she always tells me, "I never knock you for that." Um, and I wanted to put a twist on it. I said that this can't be a trench machine. Like it could be a trench machine, but that's not going to get us nowhere. So let me turn this into something else on the side, like a Nigerian owned brand. And I got it. Like I put a twist on it. I put meanings behind it. We use words behind everything, and it worked out for me. YinYin worked out for me, and we started selling, and we sold a lot of stuff last summer, but we just are working on trying to go even harder than we did,
mm.
even harder than we did, moving much smarter. So we're trying to go harder this summer. So, but I say all that to say is that I see my business is growing, and I see YinYin growing into a shop. I see Trench growing into something big worldwide.
Mm.
I have certain things and visions where I see Trench. I'm trying to make Trench my LLC and own several businesses under it.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You being the mogul in the making and the entrepreneurial genius, what if this takes over and you don't have time to be a cop? Would you be okay with that? Or would you be able to sustain both, or would you even want to?
Honestly, that's a question that I don't know what I can do. If
Valid.
if these things take over, right? Because right now I'm doing IT, and it's like I have more time to do everything.
Man,
When
you
I
just
was
doing
broke,
everything. You doing IT, man. I'm sorry, keep
yeah,
going, man. You the
yeah.
man.
And you know what's so funny? Your chapter brothers, brother Marcellus Warren and brother Ewan. I was on a call with brother Marcellus Warren. I love brother Warren and brother
Mm-hmm.
Ewan.
Yep.
And because
Shout
I
out to them.
never knew, I never had a close when Dale Harris was the state director. We
Mm-hmm.
had a good connection, but I didn't connect him like I connected with Brother Warren and brothers on the state board. I know people on the state board because I was on the state board once before Mark Berry was.
Mm.
My brother Mark Berry,
Shout out to Mark Berry.
yes sir. Shout out to Mark Berry, my
Good
brother.
brother.
Mark Berry. Side note: Mark Berry used to work at Wesley. Was
Mm-hmm.
actually somebody I used to work for. So Mark Berry, he always says that I'm the reason why he became a Sigma. I don't believe that, but I don't know. But Mark Berry is one of the other reasons why I became a Sigma. Just Mark Berry is just a leader in his own right, and he don't know how much power and influence he has over my
That's a
life.
he's a trailblazer.
Yeah, Mark Berry is something else. Mark Berry was on the state board before I got there.
Mm.
So I became the collegiate deputy director. Out of nowhere, David Ewan tells me, "Yo, you about to be the collegiate deputy director," and I was like, "What the?"
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, "Damn, I didn't even know I had this much influence." Because when I was talking to him, he loved what I was saying to him and my ideas and certain things like that. So, um, you know, back to everything. You know, it just depends. Like the IT, when I was a security at Dell State, I had no time for anything. Literally no time for anything. I was just being a cop, and that's what I was focused on. But now that I have this free space, we'll just have to see,
Okay.
because again, I believe like, and Zach, this sounds so funny. I saw a 50-year-old man that became a cop and inspired me
Mm.
because you can be 50 years old. and still become a cop. So I have all my life to become a cop.
Absolutely.
I have my 40s to become a cop. I have my 50, maybe my 50s if I'm still healthily active and running. But I have my 40s and my whole 30s to become a cop. So my businesses can still be thriving, but we just have to see.
Okay.
We
All
just have
right.
to see. And but I think that I can do it all. I think so. But because everything that I want in my life, I believe I'm going to get. Everything that I want. It may not have happened right now, but I know I'm gonna get it later on. So,
Okay.
I think that it's a question that I have to answer when I get there, but I know
Gotcha.
that I'll be able to manage everything.
Okay. I love it. So I got three more questions for the top half of our interview. Really quickly. Do you see yourself becoming an author? Man, you have so much wisdom and knowledge. I can't imagine you not writing a book. So have we thought about that? Was that later on in life? What we thinking?
Later on in life. Later on
Okay.
in life.
I love that. You kind of talked about it. I've definitely, I didn't want to interrupt you earlier. I definitely pay attention to your brand. You definitely, I listen to your motivational speeches and things of that nature. Definitely start. I don't know how you do it, but you send the thread video and then I could definitely repost it. Neither here nor there. But definitely want to support everybody more better or more effectively. Um, I definitely paid attention to the trench logo, but I didn't. You really broke it down, and I was like, wow, that's deep. God and Nas in the same thing. Shout out to you. Um, how important is your faith? You talked about the prayer hands on your logo of your business, and then you just talked about how everything comes to fruition. And I chuckled earlier because you talked about, for some reason, us creatives, we come up with our ideas in the most like, oh yeah, I was laying down watching X, Y, and Z, or oh, I was cooking chicken or whatever the case may be, and it just came to me. How important is your faith to you?
My faith is very important because 2023 was one of the hardest years for me. Towards the end, my faith is everything to me. My faith became everything, my identity. And that logo, when that logo got created? In
Mm,
October. In October. And we know October was a hard month for me. I'm not gonna go into it now, but October was tough for me, you know. But when I got that logo done, it just aligned with everything I wanted to do. Wow,
mm,
I'm in love. This guy put my work, put everything that I want to do out there.
mm,
So um I'm nothing but I'm grateful, but I'm grateful to God that He's kept me and He's pushing me to all these new things and new ideas and opening my mind. So I keep the faith because I know everything's gonna be okay. Everything right now is not where I want it to be.
mm,
Um, you know, I I am enjoying the experience right now. I am not where I want to be, but I know that this is a transitional period, so I'm going to get to where I want to be. Sometimes you're redirected from where you want to be to make you stronger. So when you get to where you want to be, you'll even be stronger in ways that you don't know. And this is what I believe. I just believe it in my heart of hearts, and I know God is making me believe it in my heart of heart. So that's what I honestly see.
mm.
I think that God is good for all that He's done for me. I think that you may not be where you want to be, but you're going to be there someday. You'll be there shortly. You just have to figure everything out. Right, everything else is going to figure itself out, and you'll get to where you want to be.
Love that.
Um, yeah. So my faith is strong. Faith is strong.
Okay, I love that. You mentioned earlier you kind of talked about when you were working for security at Dell State, you didn't really have time to do much. I could definitely relate to that. Maybe not as close as you because I know y'all were pulling long shifts. I felt like a lot of, well, I don't know if you know, but sports journalism is definitely that's what I want to do. Like, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know if I want to be on ESPN. One of my mentors, shout out to Mr. Milton Kent. He used to always be like, everybody wants to be on ESPN, but ESPN is not the best brand. Not to take a shot at them, but like he basically was saying there's so many other outlets that you can go through. And when I was working in admissions, don't get me wrong, I loved it. I got to meet some people. Malcolm X was not lying when he said that education is the passport because I definitely went places that I never thought I would be. I've been in rooms where people that I never thought I would want to be in or that I had the opportunity to be in. How important is time management for you, and how do you maximize your time management skills? Because you do a lot, my friend, and
Yeah.
it's impressive, and it's definitely you inspire me, man.
Yeah, appreciate that. Time management is everything to me. Um, I make time for everything. When I hear people talk about not having time to check up on people, I'm too busy to do this and that, and there, I think it's all nonsense.
Mm,
Make time for it all. I reach out to friends. I reach out. I reach out to my loved ones. I even reach out to people that I don't hear from. I just reach out to them to let them know that they're loved
that's
because they may
good.
not be hearing that everywhere else. I make time for everything. I can make time to be there for people. I make time to do all these different things. I make time for my wife. Like I said, that's my most important time, but I just try to be diverse with it and um, just try to be that people person. That's just who the person I am. So I always just make time for everything that I'm doing, my work, my businesses. But I couldn't make time for my businesses like I wanted to because I was working. I was
Hmm.
working night shift. So like my wife would have to do the load, and that's another thing that frustrated her. She was just like, "Oh, you're leaving me to do the work," because it's kind of tough because she's got her own life to live.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She just got married and she's trying to enjoy her summer, and then next thing you know, we're at another thing where we got to set up the car, load up the car for an event, and that's irritating. So I say that to say that sometimes you may not you gotta just have that time management where you're giving enough attention to everything, and sometimes it may require a job switch or sometimes a job change
Hmm.
to open that up and open that availability up, and sometimes you gotta put certain things down to make more time for those certain things. So that's all
Absolutely.
right. Yep.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna switch lanes. I'm a huge sneakerhead. Used to work in Foot Locker, so there's a segment that I call Quick Strike, kind of like when you get a certain amount of Jordans back in stock, like the French Blues, so to speak. So these are quick answers. The first 1 to 2 or 3 words that come to your mind, definitely answer to the best of your abilities. Are we in a bad state of culture? And when I ask that, I mean like sometimes people be like we're for the culture or things like that, but then now it's starting to get like misconstrued where uh beliefs kind of are getting intertwined, lack of integrity, things like that. From your perspective, we'll just kind of stick United States side. Do you think we're in a bad state of culture?
Yes.
Okay. Expound upon that real quick.
What I think is that this is an institutional culture.
Mm,
We and this is no shade to where you work at now. I see it at DSU. I see it at in our fraternity.
mm,
Um, I see it in Greek life as a whole,
mhm.
institutional culture. People believe certain behaviors. They understand that they're identified by certain behaviors and they're used to certain behaviors that they keep it going,
Right. Okay.
willing to change it. They're just willing to be stuck in that mentality. No matter how much, to me, in my opinion, no matter how much DSU switches up, how it changes up, it will always be an institutional culture because you still have those tendencies and those people that are used to the behaviors before that are going to carry it on. And until you correct those things or you either get rid of those people, it will never change.
That's real. Um, what's the most important thing to you so far in 2024? Like, what's something like once you got into this year, this is what I'm going to focus on. This is important to me, and I'm not deviating.
Um, being just keep being supportive and supportive and be there for myself.
Say that again for them. I love that. Who's the best Maryland rapper of all time?
I don't have a best one of all time. No, actually no. I think Cutiful is the great Maryland rapper.
Mhm.
Actually, I'm sending a shirt to Cutiful next week.
All right.
Um, yeah, yeah. I don't know if you know a 3 Black.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sending him some clothing too next
That's
week.
it. I know that's
Yeah,
right. Get the merch out there. I love
yeah.
that.
Um, Cutiful, um, Real Black. Young Jose, one of my favorite rappers, best rappers of all time. No Savage and Glizzy. That's what I'm rocking with. Shy Glizzy.
Okay. All right.
Five on the list. Like they really. And I want to make an honorary mention Light Show too. Light Show really changed what rap was. Light Show kind of, how you have these conscious rappers like Joey Badass and all these different types of people. Light Show put that type of rap, conscious rap,
Mm-hmm.
onto a trap beat and all these different beats. So I say that Light Show was part of what revolutionized the game. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. All right, moving to the last segment of this great interview. All caps or no caps. All caps meaning it's a lie. No caps meaning it's the truth. The black dollar will get back to staying in the respective community longer than 10 hours.
Caps.
Woo! All caps.
Yeah,
Mm,
all caps.
all right. Hopefully, we'll get that as a community better because every other community keeps the money in house. Hopefully, we get better with that as time goes.
Mm-hmm.
The black and brown community will come closer together, especially with John, this elections coming up and everything like that. Do you foresee that?
All caps.
Woo! All
Because you
right.
got some people that ain't comfortable with their skin. So
Woo! That reminds me of that scene from Boys in the Hood. Everybody ain't a brother. Brother.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, all right, last one. Will we see more economic responsibility this year? That could be personally, that could be from a community perspective or in general.
All caps.
Woo! We 0 for 3. Okay. Well, sir, Kelvin, man, just keep inspiring, man. Thank you for all that you do for the community, man. Thank you for being a great friend to me, a brother. Thank you for everything that you're doing, man. It does not go unnoticed. You want to tell the people where we can find you at?
Follow me at Big Man Kel on at Big Man Kel X2. And my name will pop up, and follow us at Trenched_CO, and then official YinYin. Get with me there too. So yeah, and then follow us on our motivational page that I'm doing right now, that I work for, called DC Motivate.
Yes, sir. You want to tell them about DC Motivate real quick? We kind of touched about motivational speaking.
So DC Motivate is owned by Dion Clifton, a
Good brother.
brother that I know for a very long time. So he started this motivational brand, and me and him have, the rest has been history ever since. Great brother, you know,
Definitely.
very resourceful, very strong, and I love the vibes that we're bringing. So shout out to him. It's definitely tuning to us.
All right, man. We thank you, man. You're amazing, man. You're a legend, man. Keep on the good work. Actually, before we let you go, if you could have a quote on a billboard, what would it be?
Don't be a victim of circumstance. Control the narrative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Kelvin. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you.